My name is Orpheus, once a novelist, but after losing my memory, I couldn't complete any valuable writing. Now I'm just a private detective with my clients. Until I received this strange request. Investigate an infamous estate and find a man's lost daughter. Besides the check, was the name on the letter that intrigued me. Not Orpheus, but an alias that almost nobody knew but me.
The man you just saw is Orpheus, a novelist drawn into the heart of Identity V's mystery, a man led onward by missing pages, missing people, and a story that refuses to stay buried. He comes to the Oletus Manor through a letter tied to a missing person inquiry, a lead that seems simple at first, but one that soon unravels into something far more complex than he was prepared for. Orpheus is not stepping into the manor for curiosity alone. He is following a trail of absence, trying to piece together what was taken, what was concealed, and why so many details around the case feel incomplete. The letter does not just invite him to investigate, it pulls him toward the place where the story begins to break apart. But the moment he crosses the threshold, the air shifts. The silence tightens, the house exhales. Oletus Manor is not empty, it is waiting. Its corridors feel swollen with memory, its shadows linger as if they are listening, and every step Orpheus takes draws him deeper into something ancient, wounded, and half-remembered, a place where truth has been broken and left to echo. To understand Identity 5, you must start where the story begins to fracture. The manor, the reconstruction, the rocket chairs, the survivors, and the hunters. These are the foundations of Identity 5. Everything else, every disappearances, every experiments, the ruined lives, rises from them like fragments of a dream that refuses to fade. The manor stands alone, wrapped in forest, mist, and a silence that feels almost deliberate. People once spoke of it in whispers, a place of locked rooms, unanswered questions, and guests who entered under one name but never left as the same person. It does not feel abandoned, it feels occupied, not by the living alone, but by memory itself. Footsteps, long gone, still seem to press against the floorboards. Rooms feels as though they remember the pain that passed through them. The silence is not empty, it is burdened. Every tragedy leaves a mark here, every disappearance leaves a trace. And when Orpheus arrives, the manor does not simply hold its secrets, it reshapes them. Reality bends, space appears where they should not exist, paths lead into places that feel pulled from half-remembered pasts. Scenes return in fragments, as if the manor is replaying what it cannot forget. Hospitals, factories, villages, estates, all surface like shards of something shattered and gathered back together by unseen hands. These are not histories, they are memories. Memories of calamity and memories of wounds that never closed. Reconstruction is Orpheus's attempt to make sense of what remains, not through a single clear account, but through fragments, testimonies, impressions, and the weight of objects left behind. He does not walk into truth, he assembles it, piece by piece, memory by memory, scar by scar. And because the truth is broken, what emerges is not a perfect record. It is a version shaped by fear, distortion, and the mind's desperate attempt to give form to what it cannot fully grasp. That is why the world of Identity 5 feels unstable, why details repeat, why scenes shift, why appearances feel dislocated, as though borrowed from another moment. Reconstruction is not a clean investigation, it is mostly a scar being examined through fractured glass, and the manor feeds it, offering echoes, fragments, and scenes that can be gathered but never trusted. This story is not linear, it is shattered. In Reconstruction, rocket chairs act as narrative thresholds, points where a memory wavers and a life slips out of reach. The rocket animation symbolizes disappearance, a memory fading, a person vanishing from the story, a fate that has been sealed. A rescue becomes Orpheus reconsidering the moment, imagining a different outcome, trying to rewrite this tragedy. In Orpheus' reconstruction, rocket chairs represent the moment a victim's fate was sealed, the moment they were captured, the moment their story ended, the moment Orpheus lost track of what happened to them. They are storytelling markers, boundaries between memories Orpheus can still explore and those already lost to the fog. The survivors are not heroes, they are people drawn into the manor's shadow by wounds they already carried. The gardener spent her life rebuilding what others broke. That same stubborn defiance follows her into the manor. She dismantles the chairs meant to hold her down, the way she once dismantled every obstacle placed in her path. The lawyer spent his life searching for the clause that lets him walk away clean. His map is less a tool of exploration than a habit of survival, the instinct of a man who has always needed to know where the exits are. The prospector was pulled between ambition and ruin long before the manor found him. The magnetic forces he wields feel less like a power he chose than one that chose him. Invisible, insistent, impossible to resist. The embalmer has spent his life learning to preserve what time insists on taking. He carries the same refusal into the manor. His fluids slow what cannot be stopped, as though preservation itself is his only argument against loss. The priestess followed her fate past the edge of the visible world. The passages she opens feels less like an ability than a conclusion. The natural hand of a life spent searching for doors others could not see. The explorer learned early to make himself small in a world that felt too large and too dangerous. The way he moves is less a trick than the body's oldest memory of how to survive. The acrobat built his whole life around the performance of fearlessness. The precision with which he moves is the same precision that kept the mask from ever slipping. They are people first, even if the manor turns their pain into something larger. And in reconstruction, they do not walk through history in a clean line. They move through remembered catastrophe, a world rebuilt from fragments of pain. The hunters are the shape danger takes when memory hardens into fear. Some are men, some are monsters. Some seem to exist somewhere in between, shaped by obsession, violence, and ruin. The gamekeeper gave everything to the land and the creatures he protected. When grief hollowed him out, the tools of his former care became instruments of capture, traps laid by hands that once knew how to tend, now only how to hold. The Ripper exists somewhere between rumor and certainty, a figure of quiet elegance whose blades emerge not from rage, but from something far colder, a deliberate, unhurried precision that makes the sounds before the strike the most terrifying part. The photographer could not bear to watch the world he loved dissolve, so he turned his camera into something that freezes time itself, trapping others in moments they cannot leave, the way grief trapped him in a life he could never move past. The Soul Weaver was shaped by isolation and cruelty. What broke in her eventually became what defines her. The threads she casts to bind and slow others are the physical shape of every tie that was used against her, repurposed now by the one who learned to hold the other hand. The Dream Witch does not need to close the distance between herself and her prey. She reaches through the minds of those around her, turning followers into extensions of her will, a presence felt before it is even seen. They are not merely threats, they are echoes of what the manor remembers as danger, pressure, violence, corruption, the thing reaching out from the dark. A manor that remembers, a reconstruction built from broken pieces, rocket chairs marking the point where a life fades from the narratives, survivors shaped by tragedy, hunters shaped by fear, and Orpheus standing at the center, gathering fragments from the dark and trying to give them shape before they vanish again. Beneath the manor's quiet and the fractured echoes of reconstruction, Orpheus is not chasing a simple answer. He's chasing the missing edge of a much larger truth. one built from absences, from stories that were broken before they could be understood, and from a place that seems to remember more than it should. The manor does not simply hide what happened here, it keeps it. It preserves the shape of the wound, the outline of what was lost, the echo of every life that passed through its halls and never fully left them behind. And that is why Orpheus returns to it again and again, in spirit if not in step. Because the truth isn't found in what stands plainly before him. It is found in the gaps between the broken pieces, in the silence after the door closes, in the memory left behind in the dark, in the story that survives every attempt to bury it.